Awesome. So, Ashif, everything side hustles.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds exciting.
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
just off the hop. I know you've done a bunch of side hustles. I know you had a bunch of fun doing them. What would
hmm
you say your most exciting side hustle has been?
Okay. I got two, but I'll narrow it down to one.
You can give me both.
So, yeah. I'm going to take it back to 1994. This is when I actually first joined a bank as a teller. And one of the managers said to me, he goes, you know what? If you want to be successful in banking, you need sales experience. Well, what I was doing on the side on the weekend was working for Miracle Mart. If anyone knows what Miracle Mart is, it's a supermarket and you're stocking shelves. There's no sales involved at all, right? It's all customer service. And so, um, sorry, I got interrupted. My apologies.
It's okay. It's
Um,
the working from home.
yeah, exactly, right? So, um, my manager said you need to get sales experience. So I was searching around. I found this really neat job where you're repairing car windshields. I'm like, okay. And they said sales experience required. So I talked to the manager there, and they said, well, basically, this is how it's going to work. I was stationed at a Canadian Tire gas station. I walk around with the squeegee. I walk around, offer to clean clients' windshields. If I notice a stone chip, I'll let them know this is actually a hazard. It's a danger for when you're driving. And did you know that your insurance will cover this? And they say yes. I said, perfect. Pull your car into the tent. I repair the car windshield and I submit to the insurance company. And that starts with having a squeegee in hand. So that was kind of cool.
It reminds me of something out of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, I'm sure you've read that book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the coolest thing with it is, um, you sort of think and then figure out your side hustle. And then the idea is obviously to take your side hustle full time or make it your full time gig, supposing that that's what you want to do and that's what you love. So the main reason to congregate, the main reason to have this fireside chat, the main reason to get together um, is to sort of get those juices flowing for people in here, for people to kind of think about the different options with fireside chats, the different options with side hustles, the
Yeah.
different ideas that they can do, the different movements that they can make to get that side hustle narrowed down and then of course actuate it. And one of the things that I really look forward to going over later on during this AMA is one of my favorite activities, which is a side hustle defining or side hustle finding activity. What was your second favorite side hustle?
So I don't think a lot of people know this, but I'm going to take it back to about 2004. I was actually looking to leave banking and go into policing. Okay.
Right.
So the one thing, it was very interesting. I was talking to the recruiter and said, you know what, the one thing we look at, we love your career in the banking industry, but you need to have volunteer experience. He said, but you got to make sure it's the right volunteer experience. I go, what does that mean? So
Yeah.
I was kind of Googling, volunteer experience. I was talking to a couple of friends who are actually getting into the same line of work. And a couple of them are trying to get into the food bank and basically sort food. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I'm going to put that onto my resume, if I'm going to sit in front of a panel of police recruiters and I'm basically working at a food bank, how's that going to stand out and differentiate myself to the rest of the talent that's out there?
Yeah. Good call.
Right? So it's not going to work. So I actually Googled it. At that time, there was Google, and there's something called the Youth Justice Volunteer Program. It was down in the Scarborough area where basically I would run workshops for youth who've been in trouble, who are actually just getting out of a facility and trying to get back into normal life.
Yeah.
Workshops like anger management, de-escalating situations, kind of teaching them soft skills to get back into a public environment. And to me, that's exactly made sense if I want to get into policing, because I'm going to be dealing with individuals that maybe don't have those soft skills. And I got to learn how to de-escalate the situation myself because I'm going to be in communication with these individuals, right? So,
Yeah.
and when I actually had my interviews, they love the experience. They understand what I was trying to do and why I was trying to develop my own skill set to prepare myself into becoming a police officer.
And do you think so do you think that side hustle that you were doing was something that well, let me ask you, how did you stumble upon that side hustle?
The Youth Justice Volunteer Program.
Yeah.
You know what? I just Googled. I went to the internet and I said volunteer work, and I actually put in sort of what I'm looking for. And actually, it came up. Some different options came up. I went to visit the office that hired me on as a volunteer. We had a little bit of discussion, and they said a lot of folks that are trying to get into this line of business or into policing, they don't actually come to us as an opportunity to develop the skills they need as a volunteer. So it's really just doing the research.
So and I mean, this is a really interesting piece because I think a lot of the time, when we think of side hustles, the majority of people, when you think of side hustles, you think of something that's going to generate money for you. And we sort of forget how important it is to, generate experience, because experience can also lend to, to increasing your worth, increasing your day-to-day funds. Was this job with the youth group
Yep.
for
Youth Justice Volunteer Program. Yeah, for sure.
I can't remember the long name you said with the youth. Was this was this volunteer, or were you paid for this as well?
Completely volunteer.
So that's really cool, right?
Yeah.
You get those hours, you get down and back, and there are a lot of companies out there too, who will actually, recognize those volunteer hours and could donate on your behalf just the same. So,
Exactly.
it's when you're doing that, it's really really good to build on.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what was your least favorite side hustle?
My least favorite side hustle. Delivering newspapers.
Okay,
When I
yeah.
was a kid. You got the heavy bag, you got about the 200 newspapers, rain, snow, doesn't matter the weather, you actually had to be there and delivering newspapers. I think I did that in high school because I need some little extra cash. I probably did it for 3 months, Emil. Honestly, it wasn't worth the time and the effort. And you get, I don't know, at that time I was making like $50 a week or something like that, right?
I remember looking into it myself when I was younger, and it didn't exactly make sense. But you know what? There was a reason I asked it, and I'm glad you mentioned carrying newspapers. I mean,
what was your side hustle? I could ask. What was your side hustle?
Yeah. Okay. Well, and this is where I was going to go. So this is where I was going to segue into. So there's a bunch of them.
Okay.
But the thing I think, is really important when we're thinking about side hustles or thinking about what kind of side hustle, we want to do, is to think about problems you could solve.
Yep.
Right? So like those newspapers needed to get out. That was an easily solved problem. You took a job working for them, sending out the newspapers. There's other ways to do it, of course, but whatever gets you that experience or that money at the end of the day is the important piece. The first side hustle, so it was a main job, I guess you could call it, or my main job was school. My side hustle was this, was mowing lawns. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I kind of go back to that original with the problem. So what it was for me is I was 13 years old. I was like, I want to make some money, and there was no way for me to make money. So, you needed to be 16 to get a job in anywhere, like get an official job. So I was like, okay, I have to figure something out myself. So I created some flyers on using clip art way back in the day.
Yep.
And I went and canvassed my neighborhood, maybe gave it out to, I don't know, 100 homes, and, put my house number on there, and then got some calls and ended up setting them up. And I think I charged $20 or $30 per lawn mow. The reason that I was, so for me, the reason that this side hustle meant as much as it did was because I did it myself. Like I built this myself. It was I hated mowing lawns. Let's be honest. I didn't really enjoy mowing the lawns. I love the fact that I built it myself, and that more importantly, I got money from it. I got paid cash, right? So what's really really interesting about side hustles is oftentimes we think too complicated.
Correct.
So like a side hustle doesn't have to be this, massive beast that you're going to spend all this time working on and blah, 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 blah. Like,
Hmm.
it could be, but sometimes it's as simple as just, going back to what I just said, solving a problem, right?
Let me ask you a question. Mowing the
Yeah.
lawn. When you were thinking about it, obviously money is important, but what was your number one value add proposition in doing that side hustle?
I'm going to give you some time back.
Yeah.
Right. That's a huge thing. Like, and you know what? Honest to goodness, I'd be lying if I said that, when I was 13, I really thought about the other person's time. I didn't have that foresight. But
Hmm.
now, in retrospect, looking back, I'm like, and I did say that. Like, I did actually say, like, do you want your Saturday morning back? I'll mow your lawn for you. Like, that was, I think I put a little sunshine or sun emoji on it or whatever, clip
Yeah.
art. But
Yeah.
that was the thing, and I think even to this day, like
Yeah.
if I needed to make money real quick, I would probably look at those manual labor options, right?
Yeah.
And we've just had snowfalls, so snow shoveling or snow clearing is a good one. Basic landscaping or helping out with handyman jobs. Like I said, obviously mowing the lawns. There's so many options that you can actually lean on uh,
Hmm.
to solve this problem, right? Or because in effect, what you usually want to solve a problem for yourself, which is make more money or spend your time more wisely. But the best way to think about we talk about this, Ashif, you and I, our
Yeah.
team talk about this all the time. If you're gonna sell a product, first off, nobody really wants to be sold anything.
No.
Okay, people want to buy. At this day and age, people want to buy, right? So,
Correct.
you walk into the Nike store, you want to buy a new pair of Nikes. You don't want the guy behind the counter being like, "Well, you should try it. Like, you should buy these because these are way cooler." We don't want the salesperson approach. We want someone to. We walk in there and we're like, "Okay, I have this problem vis-a-vis. I go running. My running shoes are done. I need you to, help me find a pair of running shoes to buy."
Hmm.
Oh, and so, I want to talk a little bit about this activity that I think really that really helps to give that guidance. So I don't know if you've done this before, but you've probably done something similar to it. But what I would do is I would take 10 cue card sized papers or pieces of paper or 10 cue cards and write down 10 things that, write down 10 things that I'm good at or passionate about.
Okay.
Right. So, Sheaf, let me ask you, like, if you just, it doesn't matter. Don't have to put a lot of thought into it. Just fire off 10 things or a few things that you're good at or that you really like to do.
You know what? Number one, client relationships. That's
Cool.
important to me, right?
Yep.
Um, for me, and this is the reason why I'm in the business right now, is I love helping clients with their financial goals. That's why I'm in lending, right? Passion, I want to do those complex deals. It's so complex where I can get that solution for the client where everyone else said no, right? That's my passion. I want to do things, put it this way, I want to do things the hard way to get the client the best solution. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So let's put that on one cue card. You want to help people find. I think you're speaking specifically about mortgages. You want to help people with very complex situations find very easy solutions to their mortgages. Okay, next cue card. What else do you like? What else do you think is really fun?
What I think is really fun, talking to people.
Talking to people. Okay, cool.
I love just talking to people, right? Just telling people what I do, just having a conversation with the client. I was talking to someone yesterday. We met for the first time. We spent a good 45 minutes talking about politics, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that stuff like that, because it's not so much, I want to get to know the person. I also want to know how people think as well, too. I think a certain way, others think a certain way. So I also want to get into the minds of other people as well too.
Talking to people. Okay. So
Yeah.
what else? What else is something that you really love?
Right. Golfing. Can I put that
Sure.
on the list? Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. You literally like this. This is the beauty of this activity. I love this activity because it'll catch you on your unaware, so to speak. And when you're going through it, you don't have to spend a million hours doing it. What's another thing?
Cycling. I love to go cycling as well too. Yes.
Cool. Okay, so we've got 4 things there. We've got mortgages, we've got talking, we've got golf, we've got cycling. I would go through the list and pick out 10 things. Now what we would do is, as part of this experiment, or not experiment, but process, I guess, is we flip each card over and we look at 3 problems within each one of those industries. So mortgages, this is your main hustle. So we can kind of actually just that cue card will just ball up and throw away because it's already your main hustle. Golfing. What's 3 problems with golfing that a lot of people would talk about or complain about?
Number 1 is getting that consistent swing, the muscle memory. Yeah, that's number 1. Yeah. Number 2, frustration. You might actually tee off well, hit the ball straight down the fairway, then your second, your third shot, and you 3-putt that hole, and then you'll get frustrated. So that's number 2. You want another third one?
Yeah.
Third one is you see someone who hits much better than you are, and you want to be like that person, but you just haven't golfed enough to be like that person. So it's also a competitive edge as well too.
So let me ask you, of those 3 problems, can you solve any of those problems?
100%.
For other people? For other people,
no, just for me.
Okay, so that cue card, out the window. Ball it up, throw it away. That's no good. You're not going to solve any golf problems. Talking. So this is an interesting one, and this is one I think we'll find a solution pretty damn quick, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Again, this is getting our side hustles out, right? This is about getting ideas, juices flowing to get out the side hustle. Talking. I already have one in my head, but I'm going to see if we can come up with it together. So what's 3 problems that people might have, or where you might find people that have a problem communicating with other people? What's 3 problems that might be found around there?
So the problem for the person trying to talk to individuals.
Yeah.
I would say nerves.
Nerves. Okay, cool.
Right.
Number 2.
What did we talk about?
Don't forget.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Third, I'm going to say sometimes when you're in a conversation with a person, you're trying to communicate what you want to communicate, but you're not really listening to what the other person's saying. So you're not really focused.
I love it. So there's 3 problems. Now, do you think you can solve those problems for other people?
I think so.
Well, now we're on to something. Now we have a pathway to go down.
Yeah.
So the number 1 question then becomes, these are 3 issues that we know we can solve. You're good at them. You're good at listening. You're good at helping people learn and coaching them to conversations. Mentoring them properly. We know we can solve that problem. Where are you going to find these people? That becomes the next question, right? Just like lawn mowing. This is something I'm physically capable of doing. I liked being outside. I liked the little bit of exercise. Didn't really like lawn mowing, but I did like all those other things that came with it. My next question is, how do I find people? So for me, I wrote up a bunch of brochures, handed them out, found people that way. When it comes to talking, and I'll answer this question, but I'll make it rhetorical because that's really the point of this. So the thing that came into my mind was, if one of the things you really like to do is talk and have conversations and deep conversations, old folks' homes, right? There are tons of people that are sequestered in old folks' homes that literally would either pay for, or the company would pay for, or there would be a volunteer opportunity for you to say, go into that old folks home and provide that service. And I don't know this industry at all, but I'm fairly confident you could find it. You could create it as a paid service, right? Like you go in there for however many dollars an hour, or, for however many conversations per person, or however you want to build it out. And voila, we've got a side hustle we just made up out of thin air based on things you like doing, based on things, that you're good at, and based on a problem you can solve. Right. And this is really the power. No. We just said 4 things. We didn't even get to the 4.
I know, right?
Right. And so the point in this exercise is once we've got 10 things, right? 10 things we love to do, golf, cycling, all it doesn't matter how zany it is. It doesn't have to be business related. 10 things we love to do. Then we've iterated 30 problems. Mm-hmm. And then we've gone back systematically and gone, can I solve this? Yes, no, okay, no, it's out. Right. And we're going to whittle it down to a couple more, right? With cycling, like maybe this is how Cervelo became a thing, right? Like it was on the Dragon's Den, the mobile trucks, the Cervelo trucks.
Yes.
That's how they became a thing, right? Like they literally found a problem and found a way to solve it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's important, I guess, the importance about this exercise is to really understand what you really enjoy doing and you're good at it. Because if you don't enjoy it and not good at it and you feel like it's going to hit a roadblock, it won't be a side hustle because you won't do it for very long.
Well, this is the thing. And you know what? The other piece of the puzzle with the whole notion of side hustle, and it's kind of really circles back to the definition of a side hustle. But a side hustle at the end of the day should not be, it could be simply, getting a job at Miracle Mart or, Fortino's today and doing that. But in reality, a lot of and then that might be good when you're in your 20s, okay? But as you accumulate experience, and Ashif, you know this as well as I do, you'll agree with me when I say this, as you accumulate experience, your time becomes more valuable than that minimum wage job.
Correct.
Okay? And it's not actually, honest to goodness, and again, you'll agree with me, it's not an ego thing.
Nope.
Right? It's not an ego thing at all. It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
If you went and you started putting cans back on the shelf, Ashif, knowing everything managing, leading, teams, being a vice president in your past, your sales knowledge, your experience, like everything that you built up to this point, if you went and put those cans on the shelf, not only would you be doing your own self a disservice, because quite frankly, you're going to be like, this is so boring. I'm not talking, which is one of the things I love to do. I don't really talk to anybody. I'm just putting these damn cans on the shelf. But more importantly, you're actually doing society a disservice because you actually have so much more to give as a person.
Yes.
It's really easy to kind of determine what those things are by going through this process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, I'm hearing you saying this, and it's when you're doing a side hustle, you got to ignite that inner fire.
Yeah.
Right? You got to really enjoy doing it. And, you may learn something out of it. You may earn some money out of it. But at the end of the day, is the recipient of your side hustle, are they seeing the value you're delivering? Right.
Well, this is it. And then we can't forget about, a lot of the time, in reality, a lot of the time people want their side hustle to become their main hustle. That is a sentence. My side hustle became my main hustle, or my side hustle, I'm working on making my side hustle my main hustle. That is a sentence that is used regularly in today's day and age, right? Like anybody listening has heard that before, has said it before, probably, if you're already doing a side hustle. Like this is a regular thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, your side hustle is working at Miracle Mart. Let's be honest, that's never going to become your main hustle.
Correct.
If your side hustle is, building this business where you go in and you spend, 15 minutes of your time talking with these elderly people, and then we start extrapolating. Let's just let's go nuts for a second. Extrapolate. Let's say, for argument's sake, you charge, I don't know, $20 for 15 minutes. Okay, you sit and you talk for 15 minutes, and people can do, $20 for 15 minutes or $30 for half an hour. And this is kind of what you do, and your time's up, and you move on to the next person, and you can hit a lot of people in the same building, right? Again, just spitballing this, right?
Yeah.
You build that up. Let's say you've gone out, you found a cool, old folks home, either privately or publicly owned, that will support you in doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do a really good job of doing this. Okay. You find that there's so much need for this. Well, you've got some friends that maybe you want to bring in, right? And you can work out a comp split with them so that you can facilitate more people and basically do exactly what I just said. Make that side hustle, that idea, become your reality, especially if it's something, let's be honest. If your job is to go, have conversations with retirees on a regular basis. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I would say that's soul food, man.
Yeah.
That feeds your spirit, right?
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because if you can bring other people on with you, you're almost kind of franchising out, right? You're hitting more of a mass market by doing something you enjoy doing. It's a side hustle. Could this turn into a business?
Well, this is the thing, right?
Right.
And I think thinking about these things and thinking about what you have under your belt, what you could do either better than some other company or somebody else, or different than some other company or somebody else, or if there's a value add, right? Like a lot of the time, there's just a simple gap in the market, right? So if we jump on your
Mhm.
cycling thing, cycling hobby. We know Cervelo's out there with their cars and whatever, and they're well known and whatever, but there's no okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not that I know anyway. There's no real competition for them. Like I don't see any other trucks with different names on them driving around to compete with them,
Right.
right? So one of the other pieces of the puzzle is if the companies that are in your space, because obviously once you've determined your side hustle, once you've got an idea, I mean, if it was building bikes was your fun idea, you're not going to really compete with the other companies out there, right?
Correct.
But if it's service based, then and there's not a lot of competition out there, well, then there's an option. I had a friend of mine talking about cycling. I had a friend of mine.
Mm.
Well, he was an old neighbor of mine. 15 or so years ago now. So his side hustle was really cool, very tied into to cycling. Do you know what a rat rod is?
I've heard of the terminology.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I only know this because of my my old neighbor,
Uh,
but he would build rat rods. So what
okay.
a rat rod is effectively you take an old bike, like 30, 40-year-old bike, you extend the handlebars so they're up higher, you
Hmm.
maybe put a different seat on it, you polish it, you refurbish it, you resolder or not solder, I guess it would be soldering,
Yeah.
you match parts, and basically spruce
The,
it up, then you repaint it and you make
the
it
big
really
banana seed, right?
big banana seats, or you
Yeah.
could do the wide ones, the wide cruiser
Yeah.
seats. He had you should have seen his garage. It was incredible. He had just bike parts galore. And it was so funny because we would stand out there and have a drink or two. And, almost systematically, a couple times a week, his wife would pop her head out and say, hey, when are you going to clean this place? And he's like, this is my shop, right? And you know what was really cool is he was flipping out a rat rod,
Mhm.
at least once a month, and he was selling. He's just getting scrap parts here and there, and was flipping out a bike for like $800 to $1,000 every single month, one of a kind, custom made, advertising on Facebook, like just a really really cool side hustle,
Yeah.
right?
And he
And
enjoyed rebuilding bikes, right?
well, this is the whole thing, right? So I don't know if he still does it. I don't know if he still does it. I'll have to ask him. But this is the point, right? If we do this activity and we mark down all these things, then we can determine. Now there is a question in the chat. Do you have a mentor to help you decide on a side hustle, or did you? Well, let me ask you, Ashif. Did you?
Not indirectly. I had a mentor, but remember when I mentioned about my manager, when he's saying that you need to get sales experience.
Yeah.
Informally, he was kind of my mentor, and he's kind of guided me. It was my first year working as a teller, and that was kind of helpful for me because that kind of helped guided me through my career as a banker.
There's an informal mentor is great. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a formal mentor or coach or an info, it doesn't really matter as long as you have people behind you. I think the difference,
Correct.
honestly, as you know, Ashif being part of the TSM team, the big difference between an informal mentor and a formal mentor
Hmm.
is that specific one-to-one time where you can kind of break down those tough problems, like we just talked about, this idea of building this,
Yeah.
old folks chatting company, breaking down the minutia, right? Like, how are you going to take payments? Are you going to incorporate? How are you going to build the finances behind it? How are you going to, grow this company? How are you going to, accelerate it to the next level? So I think that's, definitely the difference, but yeah, same on my side of the fence. I mean, I've had both.
Yeah.
Formal and informal mentors, but you know what? This takes us right up to 4:30. So it's
For
kind of,
sure.
and you know what, though, I want to say thanks a lot for coming on. Thanks for joining me, and
Perfect.
I look forward to connecting in the future.
All right. Thanks, Emil. And formal mentor, accountability is key.
Amen to that.
All right. Have a good one, Emil.
Yeah, bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.